roll. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting of the Madison County Fiscal Court to order. Kenny?
Master King?
Here.
Master Barger?
Here.
Master Hughes?
Here.
Master Combs? Judge Clark?
Here. Okay, let's go on and approve the minutes of the last meeting. Y'all have had a chance to look at them. If there are no changes or discussion, let's go on and approve them as submitted in your packet.
So move.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Treasurer's report, we got that at the last meeting, so that'll be at the next one. Order of business, I'd like to amend the agenda with the permission of the court, and it's an executive order issued by me on our emergency operation plan. Carl's here today, too, so we'll address this on down into the end of the agenda. It's straight, simple, and kind of to the point, and something we do every year. First, a couple of magistrates had asked for Jim Rowe and Elliott to come in and kind of give us an update on what's going on with the sanitation district. And as we always do, we ask, even though they're not a taxing district, they stand alone and they get their own grants and stuff. So, Jim, would you and Elliott like to come up and just kind of give us a short rundown on what's going on with the sanitation district?
I've got a few topics I'd like to do. Roger, a couple that are already in our district, and give you a couple of points on it. The district has 1,620 customers. We have some new homes that were hooked up in the last year. Ellie and I continue working with new builders or potential developers. We get probably every month we get new developers call us and ask where our lines are at and want to hook on. We meet with those, and some of them hook on, some just want to know where our lines are at. I thought it was interesting, and it's a good point you all might want to know about. We've got 100 homes that are empty right now in our district for various reasons. Some are foreclosed, a lot of them are foreclosed for just empty.
Now, are these homes that are available to the sewer, Jim?
Those should be hooked onto the sewer. And so I just calculated yesterday that's over $40,000 of income we're losing. Right now, we're in the process, every 10 years, Division of Water requires us to do a 201 facility plan. And we're in the process of doing that right now. We've had 2 public hearings of that. We went, and we're doing the process. The plan is at the Division of Water right now to do it and do an update of that right now. We met with the Division of Water in our last thing, and the plan right now is at the Division of Water for its update. I don't see any problem with that. Problem is, it's a very expensive plan to have it updated. So it's at the Division of Water. We should have that plan approved and probably within the next month or so. The only problem is Division of Water only has they're down to one person that approves those facilities plan. And we met with her, and she said there's no problem with updating our facilities plan. We just completed our 2011 audit. We had a new auditor, and everything came out real well on that. And we're getting our 2012 audit done. We changed auditor this year. I don't know if I guess you're aware that the state asked you to change auditors every few years. We had the same auditor for a number of years, and we just changed auditors. So we changed auditors and got a good audit. So that came out real well. We're trying to get some new sewer lines installed, trying to get some grants for that. We did install 1,000 gravity lines and 6 new manholes. We did that out of our own lines, out of our own funds. We got a priority 1 through the Bluegrass Area Development District to rehab Madison Village in that area out there, which means that when our grants become available, we can rehab that area out there. We get a lot of I&I, which causes problems with water coming in, and then so we need to rehab Madison Village. So we got a priority 1, which means that when a any funding comes available through the Bluegrass Area District, we're going to become available for that. So we're real pleased with that. We have total assets of $21,408,326. We have 19 pumping stations, 1 regional sewer plant, 2 small plants, 1 at Battlefield, 1 at Executive Park. Our collection lines, we have 138,421,000 lines, and 170 of gravity lines, and 175,566 feet of force main. I thought that was interesting. We have 553 manholes. Our liabilities are $7,840,000. So I thought that was, you might want to know that. Fiscal year of 2012, our revenues were $1,091,483. Fiscal year of 2012 operating expenses were $1,124,931. We come out short of $33,000, but that was made up from tap-on fees. We did have a rate increase in January of this year, so that took up the shortage that we have. Expected revenues, expected increases in 2013, increases chemicals. Our chemical cost is going to go up 20%. Health increases will go up 10%. Our utility costs, we expect to go up 8%. So, you have any, I just want to know if is there any questions or anything. Residential bills are $37.95, and they go up $6.33 per 750 gallons. And we meet the first Tuesday of each month at 8 o'clock at our office on Aqueduct Drive. And we would encourage anyone in the fiscal court to come to our meetings.
How many homes been added to this? I know for a couple of years ago, y'all was having a problem with, before the development wasn't taken.
I'm sorry?
The development wasn't, too good. People wasn't building homes. How has that increased in the last couple of years?
We're at maybe a couple of homes a month. There's still, development is not increasing,
So residential rates going to end up about $41, is that correct? $41, $42. Was 35 something going up. Yeah. I feel like that most of the development's going to be the Boonesboro Road in that area. Whenever it does happen, I'm sure that's where you're planning on doing most of your work. Have you had that many calls from people that's interested in that one?
We have quite a lot of calls out in that area. Matter of fact, we had a person call. We had last month looking at a development out there, commercial development out there.
Are we tapped for the Bennett Farm whenever they decide to develop it? Are we close enough for them now?
Oh yeah,
We run right
we can use that. We could prepare for that whole development.
A lot could happen with interchange construction. Hopefully, it's going to be let in late winter, early spring of next year to get started on that, and that's going to open up a whole lot of commercial around the interchange.
We had someone looking at development on exit 97. And actually, we never heard back from them, but they said they would bring it to us.
So when that's all in place and ready to tap on.
Want to develop on at exit 97, a commercial development. Matter of fact, they called 2 or 3 times. Their engineer did.
I wanted to mention one thing that Jim and Elliot are doing a good job. They can't really go very far on this because money's not available right now, but they're looking at the Robbinsville, Greens Crossing area. Of course, you all know that we're tied onto the city there, so as the city increases their rates, and we're paying about a double rate according to the residents of the city. And through their new $50 million plant, they've added in, Jim, what, Ellie, is about 8% a year for the next 5 or 6 years. So we're really trying to look at something. I mean, it's not feasible right now to where we could put some kind of treatment plant out in that area, because it'll get to the point in 2 or 3 or 4 years where those people won't be able to pay it. They're just not going to be able to, because Jim and Elliot will tell you, they're breaking even out there, and when
Some months we go in a hole.
yeah, because all we're doing is trading out just to provide sewer for that bad area out there, and we're going to have to eventually do something in the next couple of years to ease the burden on those 375 people, families out there, that can make it affordable for them, because if we continue, they won't be able to afford it. I mean, they really won't. So I got to credit Jim and Elliot, because they're working on that, and they're looking at different areas that maybe, something could be done, that we could go on and put them online like we do at Executive Park, at Battlefield, on a smaller plant, not like the regional plant.
Right.
Any questions for Jim? Jim, thanks for coming in. We appreciate you and Elliot, everything you all do for us, and things are going to turn around. When we did this, everything was rolling, and we were building 300 or 400 homes a year, and now it's 15 or 20. So,
Yeah.
but it's there now. It's like the cities and the industrial parks. They're sitting there, but the infrastructure's there, and once they come in, they're site ready, and we'll be ready for them. So, and a lot of things are getting ready to happen there. Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, next, I asked Brian to come in. There's a little money available for home grant for housing renovations, and there isn't a whole lot of money. And we kind of looked at an area that we might look at. You couldn't open it up everywhere, and it's for seniors and veterans, and it's really to upgrade their homes to ADA, and we don't know, but we've got studies out there, we've got income surveys and stuff. So Brian just wanted to talk to you all a little bit about this home grant for housing renovation, and see if indeed the court was interested in following up on this, and asking Brian and his company to go on and look into this and see if there are eligible people out there and they'd be interested in it.
Thank you, Judge.
Brian?
This is through the Kentucky Housing Corporation, which has a couple of sources of funds. One of them is through HUD, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and it's a grant program called the Home Grant Program. Then there's also another fund called the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which used to be funded from unclaimed pari-mutuel tickets at the racetracks, which is kind of unusual. But they've taken in millions over the years, so I guess that means you always got to cash your tickets if you go out there. Or if you don't, it'll go to a good cause. These funds are available for a variety of uses, but what I want to present to the court is the possibility of using these funds just for renovation of homes. Now, in the past, I've worked with you all on sewer expansion projects through the Greens Crossing, Robbinsville, Estonia Estates area. Also worked with you on Whitehall Manor, different areas. One of the ideas that I had was if we try to do any renovation to a home that is not on public sewer, more than likely we're going to find they need septic tank work, they need septic system work, and that's going to kind of mess things up, because there's a maximum on how much you can ask for on these types of grants. So the idea is perhaps to target those areas that already have public sewer, so we don't have to worry about that particular issue there. And again, I just mentioned the areas there. This type of renovation program is directly with the homeowner. The county is acting basically as a sponsor. But the homeowner, for up to $60,000, could have the home renovated. And you can target it or prioritize it any way you want. And Judge Clark and I talked about perhaps making it available to veterans and or elderly or disabled that needed handicap accessibility for their home, be it ramps or even going in and moving walls to get a bathroom ADA accessible, perhaps any type of energy efficiency improvements that could be made, because we often find that we do this a lot in different parts of the state, and we find that that's a big thing, is folks want to stay in their home longer, but they have some mobility issues, and this is something that we can help out with. Now, what we would want to do is try to just open up just to the public in a particular area, just say, hey, do you got anything? What do you need? Just tell us what you need, and then our staff will go into the home and do an inspection. We're not as good as Dwayne, but we can do a good inspection there and see what their needs may be. Now, there is an income level, of course, that these folks must fall under, which is 80% of the county household median income. But again, we catalog all that sort of thing. After we've done the inspection, then we can kind of we have a rating and ranking, a scoring criteria, which is fairly objective. Just kind of rates it and ranks it, just so we're not showing any favoritism one way or the other. Just we help the neediest first of all. The worst first is what we call it, and try to see if we can get some assistance into some folks. Now, this is a grant, but it's in the form of a 5-year deferred payment, so that each year, at the end of the 5th year, 5 years and 1 day, all is forgiven. But if the home sells within that 5 years, the government would like to recover some of their money. Obviously, if we've put some money into the home, we've increased the value of it, and if you turn it around and sold it, then it's not. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for that investment that we made, as taxpayers, we made in it, to be returned, and then it can go back to the Kentucky Housing Corporation and be recycled for more housing. Just makes sense. But we find that this 5-year forgivable deferred loan is more attractive to elderly who really worry about that sort of thing, worry about their heirs and how all this would happen. We can work, but we have, and I won't get into all the details on the mortgage and the promissory note that's filed on these, but it does incorporate language in there so that it doesn't force a sale. Were they to pass or have to go to a nursing home, it does not force a sale. Okay, so it's a very good program. It's a really nice program. Now, the bad news is there's only $200,000. The county, which has never been an applicant, can only ask for up to $200,000. So we'll have to be fairly selective, and it'll just be a small number of homes. The grant funds pay our administrative fees, so the county's not in for any of that. Neither, no one's accountable for that. And there must be a 10% match. But the match can take forms. We'll be working with the Kentucky Utilities on coming in and doing some energy efficiency work as a match. In fact, we can also ask for sweat equity if homeowners are capable of that, or their families capable of that, or we can perhaps get some volunteer labor. We'll just have to see what each of the needs, and look at the particular houses, and just kind of see what we can do. But we'll find the 10% match, is my point, and we're not asking fiscal court to pony up any of that. The deadline is January the 9th. This will take a couple of months to get together. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of folks out there asking us about it, and but that should give us sufficient time. If I can get an approval from the fiscal court, that should give us sufficient time to contact folks by mail and invite them to come on in or contact my firm, CETA, to have us come in and take a look at their home. Okay? Can I answer any questions at this point?
Did you say the funding came from unclaimed pari-mutuel?
Part of it did, yes.
Did.
Well, that's since then. It got pretty big. It really did. It got pretty large, and I think they've kind of phased out that part. But there's a pretty good sized pool of money there. It's somewhere in the $3.5 million range per year. So that's a very nice use of funds. Kind of unusual source of funds, but hey, whatever works, right? But then the other source, the major source, is a HUD grant fund that comes through the Kentucky Housing Corporation. By the way, this does not This is not a community development block grant. This is not CDBG. It's a horse of a completely different color, different agency, different everything. They are somewhat of a mirror image of one another, but still, they're two separate funding sources
Is it
there.
state or federal?
It's state.
It's state.
Wait a second. The unclaimed pari-mutuel tickets is state. The other is federal.
Okay.
So there's all kinds of fun bells and whistles, but again, it's up to $200,000. So I don't know if it'll trigger your requirement for the Single Audit Act, but it should be fairly small.
Is the funding, how does the funding flow through us?
We'd have to go through the procurement, advertise for bids, the whole thing for that, and then the county you'd need to pay the bills, each of the bills as they come in. Of course,
And
our
would we be on a reimbursement, we would need to pay them up front and be reimbursed?
no, we'll submit them as an expense. We'll submit them just like CDBG does, and then nobody gets paid until the funds are coming in. We're not asking for county to front the money and then go through all that reimbursement craziness. Okay?
Does it have to be kept in a separate
Yes.
bank account like the others?
Yes. This one's pretty unique. Yeah, you'll have to keep it separate. But and this is more for Glenna than you all, but there are only 3 draws per home allowed for this, so it's keep it short and sweet. So 3, that's it. So if, for example, we were able to serve 10 homeowners, that'd be 30 dispersals. It's about it. Which for a project that size, that's not too bad. It's not great, but it's not too bad.
What's the study going to cost? What's the study going to cost?
What study is that?
As looking into getting the people come in, I mean,
This is the part my wife loves. It's no charge. She likes that part. If it's not funded, we're not paid. And that's just the way it is in our business. We'll contact the homeowners, have public meetings with them, go to their homes. We're geared up for this type of thing. We're accustomed to it. We do a lot of housing throughout the state. We've just finished a project in Ravenna. In Jackson County, we're currently building 9 or 10 houses, getting ready to start on some more in Irvine. I'm just got all kinds of, we do this all over the place.
So the county be actually contracting the work that's done?
The county would, yes, they would be the entity that would be doing the contracting, but our firm would prepare all the contract documents, all bidding documents, contract documents. Actually, we would prepare a draft of the mortgages, promissory notes, and send it to Mark for review and all that. So we'll prepare all the paperwork. But yeah, the county would be the one, and we'd have public openings right in here.
What would you think, what % of the investment would be returned? You just told us forgivable loan, but what % would you think would be reimbursed?
I'd say probably end up with 0. I mean, I've done tens and tens of millions of dollars of these projects, and I think the most we've ever had where people had sold their homes and returned the money it's probably less than $50,000. So people hang on to them. We've done something where they can stay in their home longer, and it's rare that people even ever have to return any of the funds. Very rare.
Sounds like a good program for the community, so.
All right, do you all want to follow up this? One reason we had to look at areas where we've got sewer available, because part of the upgrade is you've got to have a manageable septic system, and when you get into that, all of a sudden you're talking about $7,000 or $8,000. So we wanted to look at areas that had sewer available, and we felt like with the number of homes and with the material that they've already collected when we put the sewer system in out there, that would be a good area to start. And like I say, the money's very, very limited, so we're probably looking at anywhere from, 4 to 8 homes that we could renovate or help.
What area is this?
Greens Crossing and Estonia Estates area.
And we still have the database. Whenever we did the sewer project out there, we still have a
We've
good
got all the
database on that.
information on it. So would you all like for Brian to go on with this program, get something initiated?
We'll make a motion if we need it.
Well, we probably ought to put it in the book, Kenny. It's got a motion from Greg.
Second.
Master King,
Yes.
Master Barger,
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Brian,
Thank
we
you
would
all.
expect after y'all get started to come in and give us a regular report once a month on interested parties and
Okay.
if indeed there are people that are eligible that meet the criteria. And, if we don't, then maybe we can look at another area similar
Okay.
to the Greens Crossing.
Fair enough. All right,
Okay.
thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. See you, Glenn. Okay, next is personnel, and this is accounts receivable clerk and receptionist for Glenna and her treasurer finance department, and Deanna. We had a little just misunderstanding. Glenna, y'all want to stand up? Deanna, you want to stand up, because I'm sure they want to ask you a few questions. I can probably feel comfortable taking the blame. Apparently I didn't make it clear to everybody that, we were moving over there because we needed more help, and that Glenna had to have more help. She's been understaffed for years and years, and they've got by, and it's just, it's getting overwhelming. So she has to have more help. So we apologize for the things that happened last week, and we've all talked, and I think everybody's comfortable now understanding the process, and I think we're going to look at some different ways of going about the hiring practices a little bit and change that a little bit. But the key word is making sure that everybody on the court's aware of what all the different department heads are doing and how they're doing it, and where they can look at the applicants and things like that, which we don't have a problem with. I'd open the floor up. Glenn, if y'all have any questions for Deanna. Greg?
No, I've got what I needed, so that's,
I don't have any questions. Are you finished, Craig?
yeah.
I don't have any questions for her, but I do want to express the concern that, when I voted against this lady, it wasn't against her personally. I didn't even know her. And it was against the process. And there was an article in one of the local papers that when leaders don't lead, and I'm not frowning on the article. I think it's a good article because you can only write what you know to write about. And but it was just the process that we was going through to do her hiring, and had nothing to do with you at all. And I apologize if you took it personally, and I'm sure you probably did for a while, but it had nothing to do with you. But I just hope that we can do better in the future.
Billy Ray?
Don't have anything to say.
Okay, motion would be in order to hire Deanna Raymer as accounts receivable receptionist for Glenna's treasurer's department.
So move.
So, second.
Master King,
Yes.
Master Barger,
Yes.
Master Hughes.
Yes.
Judge Clark.
Yes. Deanna, we look forward to working with you. You're working with a great staff over there, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. And we'll be glad to get you back over to Madison County. Okay. Next is our executive order, and it's the EOP. Carl, you want to come up a second? I don't think I need to read this whole thing. Do you want to kind of go over this real quickly and explain what it is and why we do it each year?
Yeah, this is a little bit different than the past years because this is a new EOP. It's the one we talked about at the three governments meeting, I don't know, back in July or August, whenever it was. This is the new EOP that's required to be in an ESF format, which is emergency support functions. The state mandated that every one of the 120 counties change from the format we had in the EOP, which was a tab and annex-based document, over 1,100 pages, to this new ESF format. Well, we took the 1,100 and some pages, got rid of the redundancy and some of the craziness that was in that old required format, and we're down to 205 pages roughly on this one. So it's a lot more digestible, it's a lot more succinct. We had 90 agencies from this community involved in making the new one. We wrote it, we authored it, we did all the edits. We kind of functioned as the leader and mentor, but we got all the fire departments and utility districts and everyone involved in writing this new one. So everybody knows what their role is in it. And it's a good document, and we beat the state's deadline. It was December 31st was their deadline. We received concurrence from the state in June of this year, and we brought it to the August meeting of the three governments, or whenever that was. Showed everybody what it looked like and how it was set up. Gave you guys a copy of it on a jump drive so you could see it. We got Berea's approval last week from the council. They've approved and adopted this new EOP as their EOP. Tonight we'll be doing Richmond. Michael's going there to get their concurrence. I'm trying to get yours today, and then we're done. We've fulfilled all of our obligations, and we'll continue to get our EMPG grant funding, which is Emergency Management Program grant funding. So it's tied to money. It's important to get it done. As of the last state update, only about 35% of us are done with it. So few people have a lot of work to do in the next 2 months. Otherwise, they lose grant funding. So, any questions on it?
This is something we do every year.
Not this way. Every year you have to do a refresh of your EOP, but this time they said throw away the old one and write a new one looking like this. So we did a ton of research and looked at other states and other counties and took the best of the best, made a draft, sent it out to all the different departments, like I said, 90 departments. They reviewed it. We sat down and had 24 face-to-face meetings scheduled to go over the different pieces with the players, and then rewrote it again to tweak things, and then sat down for our final meeting, and that's when we sent it off for state concurrence, and we got concurrence first time through, which is good because some people don't. So hopefully we won't have to do this level of rewrite again. I mean, the whole document got rewritten.
I make a motion we accept this executive order.
Thank you.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Carl. Judge's report. First thing, I wanted to read a complimentary letter received for the Battle of Richmond Visitor Center, and he received this from Blue and Gray Educational Society. They visited here unannounced one day last week. The Chris that's referred to in this email is Chris Kalikoski. He's the director of the Patton Museum at Fort Knox and a former director of the Prairieville Battlefield. His message was, as I told you and Chris, you have the finest battlefield visitor center I've ever seen. It has ambience, substance, and reflects the pride of the community and the staff that manages it. The scores of internally developed brochures are simply outstanding. The battlefield presentation is a worthy stop after the orientation. Kudos to the state and all affiliated with it. It is a superb presentation. September 21st was a great day. I just wanted to thank Paul and Philip for the great job they're doing out there. I was out there with leadership the other day, and it gets better each day. For the first time, as we had the reenactment at part of Bluegrass Army Depot, they'll have the second weekend of this month on Saturday from 10 to 12. It'll be like a walk through Lake Buck Nature Trail. And as always, well, the third year in a row, we've had our second Sunday walk through Battlefield Park, and that's October 14th, the next day from 2 to 4. We always get a great crowd out there, and it's just really nice. You can bring your bikes, you can walk, but we get good crowds, and everybody likes to see it. The park looks beautiful right now. EKU Homecoming is Saturday, October 13th, and they'd like to see a great crowd there. Civil War Talk, Madison County Library at Richmond at 4 o'clock on Saturday, October 13th. Everybody's invited to that. As we've said a couple of times, Trick or Treat is October 31st from 6 to 8. And the 13th and 14th of October is the Kentucky Guild of Artists at Indian Fort Theater. And that's something they do twice a year, and it's always a huge crowd. So everybody's invited to all these things, and this time of the year, there's just a whole lot going on. A whole lot going on. That's all I have in the judge's report. Department heads. Dwayne?
Just going to give you my third quarter report, so you can kind of see what's what's going on from a construction and development standpoint. And as you're getting those, just to kind of dovetail a little bit with what Jim Rowe was saying, as new development occurs in areas where the property falls within the five-year 201 sewer plan, we require that development to go ahead and stub out sewer lines for future connection. Just like the new Dollar General that went on 627, we required them to go ahead and stub out a sewer line all the way out to the edge of the utility easement, so that at whatever point in time sewer becomes available, it's already there, it's ready for them to connect to, and it was planned and prepared for in advance. So that is one of the things we're doing through the Planning Commission. As usual, I try to give you some kind of comparison to the last to a 4-year time period there. This is January 1 through the end of September of the last 4 years, to just show you how those numbers compare. For the audience benefit, 2009 we issued permits for about $19.5 million worth of construction. 2010 it was just a little over $18 million. 2011 it was $19 million, and then the third quarter through the third quarter of this year is $21,800,000. So we've seen a little bump in construction in the county over this through this year compared to the last 3 years. And if you flip to the second page, you'll see that we have had an increase in the number of new single-family dwellings. Again, this year over last year, we issued permits for 72 new single-family dwellings, and this year 105. Typically what we see is when new construction goes up, remodelings go down, and vice versa. People decide if they're not going to build a new house, they're going to remodel and be content to stay where they are. So we generally see those two numbers flip-flop based upon what's happening. But that kind of gives you a good snapshot, maybe a good overview of what's happening from a construction standpoint throughout the county. Some of the other things that we've been working on is with Chris Israel and the IT department's assistance. We've developed a new online software program that allows businesses and builders and vacant property registration folks to be able to get online and apply for all of those activities that we do. Permits and all of that can be applied for online, which in turn makes it easier and more convenient for businesses to be able to access the data or the information, and to be able to apply online and be able to take care of those things, which saves them time from having to, and expense from having to come into the office and sit and wait until the paperwork can be processed. So they can do this from their home or from an iPad or a laptop or wherever they want to do it. They can access it. Contractors can actually apply for permits online now. They can request inspections online. They can pull up on their smartphone and they can access all of their projects they've got going and see what stage in the inspection process that's going on. Since we've taken over the issuance of business license, businesses can apply for business license online and can take care of those things as well. So we're trying to do everything we can to make the services that the county provides better, more reliable, easier to access, and more consumer friendly. So we're trying to constantly look at ways that we can improve that process and be more of a benefit to the public and keep their interest more in mind as we try to serve their needs. So anybody have any questions?
Is the city doing that too? Does the city have that capability of doing the online?
City does not. Neither city does. We are working with, as you know, I serve on the chamber board for the Richmond Chamber. One of the efforts that's being worked out right now is to try to create what they're calling a one-stop shop for anybody that wants to operate or open a business in Madison County as a whole, be it Richmond, Berea, or the county. There'd be one central location where they could go to gather general information about
how to start a business as far as what licenses, what taxes are due, what jurisdiction they're responsible for, and then making it easier for them to be able to click on that jurisdiction. Once they determine where they are, they can click on that jurisdiction, find out the specifics about how to do that right now, and have a name and address and contact information for somebody to go to, because most of the small businesses say it's extremely difficult to figure out where to go and who to talk to and what all the hoops they need to jump through to open up a business. So there are some ways that we're collaborating with, all three governments are collaborating to try to generate a one-stop shop on that end of it. And we have met with both cities to show them what we're doing as far as making those services available online and easier to access. And at this point, they've not done so, but I know Richmond is considering doing this. They are all three going to do this as it relates to business license, so they realize there is a benefit on that end of it. But as far as the construction permits, we're the only one that's doing that right now.
This right here is 4 years. How much show us go 10 years?
I can do it.
You know, because it was 2008, 2009 when the bottom dropped out.
Right.
And if you need to go back to about 6 or 7 years to see where we really are compared to when the boom times was going.
I'd be glad to do that. What I do is, if it's okay with you, at my year-end report, I'll just give you a year-end report, and we'll do a comparison with the past 10 years so you can see what's going on, because really 2004, 2005 was the peak of really what was going on. And I mean, we were doing $80 million worth of $80 and $90 million worth of construction activity in 04 and 05, and really blowing the doors off as far as especially new single-family homes, maybe to the tune of 400 or 500 per quarter versus 100 per quarter. So yeah, I'd be glad to do that. That'd be good information. But I've got it all there, and I'll provide that for you at the year-end report.
You know, really what would be nice is if this is just the county. Does anybody ever compile all three governments together into a combined?
We've done that before, and I'll include that in there. I don't know if I can go back and get there 10 years, but I'll get a comparison of whatever years I can get from them, and I'll lump that in that report. So you'll have a snapshot of how what's going on in the county compares to what's going on in the cities. Residential, we exceed the number of residential permits that either of the cities do, and probably both cities combined. Commercial, obviously the city of Richmond's had a boost in that with the Richmond Center and all of that, so they're going to see more commercial growth and activity than what we've seen out in the county. So it kind of balances itself out. But yeah, that's good information, and I'll have as much of that detail that I can get from both cities. I'll have that included in that report as well.
We're all in it together. I mean,
that's right. Yeah. When one succeeds, we all succeed. Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Thanks, Dwayne.
Thank you.
Any other department heads?
Judge, I just want to let the fiscal court know that we just finished our audit last week. We had our exit conference. The auditors here were here for about 4 weeks, and we had a great audit. No comments. Everything's good. And now it'll be turned over to the state to review. It'll probably 2 to 3 months for the state to release it, and then it'll be released on the state website. And when we get the final copies back, I'll be passing out a copy.
Thanks, Glenn. Jim?
Yeah, just want to do the reminder, the Kentucky State Forestry Division, every year they have a barn ban. It started October 1st, goes through December 15th. You're not allowed to burn within 150 feet of a forest area or a structure between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So unless, of course, you get the ground's covered with snow, you're allowed to burn, through that time. But just want to give everybody a reminder.
Thanks, Jim. Anybody else? Keith, Carl, do y'all have anything? Michelle, I saw a report in here. I think it's kind of self-explanatory. The next one kind of if you would go a little bit more extensive, show us, we'd like to see if the program's been a success. I mean, how much it's costing, how much we're bringing in from prisoners, expenses versus revenues, and kind of give us an idea of what we've done since we started the program.
Basically, the difference in what he's not having to pay out.
Yes. Yeah, just bottom lines, if you don't mind, okay? Thank you very much. Mike, do you have anything? No, sir. Comments from magistrates, Greg?
Just everything's running pretty good. Our county looks beautiful. Roadsides ain't trashed up as bad as they have been, and I'm glad that program's working and helping keep our roadsides cleaned up. And, you know, we got a beautiful county, and it's good that everybody takes pride in working to help take care of it. Also, today is Kenny, is the last day of registration to vote, so everybody out there that ain't registered need to get registered if you would, and get involved and always make a difference. So that's all I have.
Okay, Roger?
Judge, the only thing I got is just a concern about some water issues down in Panure Acres. It's not serious right now, but the lady that called me, she just rung a bell with me about looking at what we're going to run into. Panure Acres has always been a problem that's getting a lot of water. But, now it's getting a little worse, and just adding to it, this is almost to the dead end of Panure Acres, where the water's backing up behind the houses, and it's getting closer and closer all the time, every time we have a serious rain. Looking at a map, I see a bigger concern, just talking about the sewer district. Boonesboro Road, if you go down Boonesboro Road on the right-hand side, all that runs into Red House. If you go to the new schools, it's on the bypass, all that water runs to Red House as well. So all that comes down drains from different places, it all hits at Red House. And when it hits Red House, it backs up, making the creeks back up to where those houses are. I need to talk to Leroy and see if he can just kind of check the creeks or whatever and see if there's some clogs that we maybe could do something with. But I think the biggest thing we've got to do, and I talked to Dwayne about this, I'll get a map on it and a layout so everybody can look at it. But the biggest thing I think we're going to have to do is the development that goes in is just going to have to, we're going to have to make sure that they've got some kind of good retaining areas to hold that water and release it out a little bit at a time instead of such a rush, because that's what we're getting into now. And it's going to be in this developing area on the north end that we've got to look at, because that's where it's going to be, is Boonesboro.
Planning and development and planning and zoning are adamant about retention ponds and retention water. They make the engineers do a study on that, on worst case scenario. And we've really, haven't we, Dwayne, we've really been very successful on the retention ponds on all the developments.
Dwayne and I talked about it before court a little bit, and that's what he informed me, that now we have pretty good restrictions, but the ones that's running water that was before the restrictions come in, for some reason seem like it's getting a little worse. But we are gaining water as far as behind a lot of the houses in these lower areas. Callaway Creek's another area that's going to get it as when the development starts. But anyway, it's just something I think we need to take a look at.
Okay. To Bill Ray.
I'll just borrow Larry's line today. Means he's not here, and I'm just glad to be here, Judge.
Glad you're here. Is there anybody from the audience like to approach the court? Yes, sir. Would you like to come up?
I'd like to thank the court, all the members of the court, for doing such a good job. I'm proud of the job you're doing. And my name is Dean Jones, and I'm a property owner of Arbuckle Road. And the reason I'm here, I'd like to get an update on Arbuckle Road, if I may. I know you've got the gravel down, and what are the plans on blacktopping, and when do you think you'll get through with it?
On your way home, if you'll drive through there, and you'll probably have to slow down and stop because they're blacktopping today.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I might just drive through there.
Might want to drive around today and then drive through tomorrow.
Well, that's music to my ears, I tell you what. I told you I was doing a good job, so keep up the good work.
Okay, Dean,
Thank you.
thanks. Appreciate you coming in. Anybody else? If not, need a motion to pay the claims and approve the transfers.
So move.
Second.
Master King?
Yes.
Master Barger?
Yes.
Master Hughes?
Yes.
Judge Clark?
Yes. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.